Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where last episode, after linking Gregson to the SS Grouse, Kazuma revealed that he knew he was there, saying that Gregson was there to assassinate someone on behalf of the Reaper, failing the mission, which led to his own death in some way. With Gina goaded into testifying again to defend her boss, we heard more about the Reaper's notebook, with Baruch Van Zieks also contributing, pressing to learn more, with one statement from Kazuma leaving us a way to fight back. However, the path we are taking has maybe led to a new possibility. That Kazuma killed Gregson. Oh no! The tip is broken. If the fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asugi. Expertly done, Rinosuke. That's a point to you and well deserved. Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asugi? Yes, on 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jigoku. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one. Explain. I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk. But I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it. We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Jigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We travelled to Dover, from where we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Jigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. A boarding house in Dunkirk? My signature will be in the register book. It would be simple enough to verify. Then, what became of Jigoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger, and end his wretched agent's life. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection!
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer that. The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. The great sword Karuma has been entered into the court record. The prize sword's tip has a small piece missing. We must take immediate action now. No, can I check the sword out first? In complete and utter silence. Karuma, the great blade. It's such a thing of beauty. I want to gaze on it for hours. Yes, but that tip. The tip of the great sword. Broken. It's such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. I could almost hear Karuma's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Somewhat an uncontrolled one too, you know? Am I looking at anything else to do with the weapon? Doesn't seem to be any staining. Anything around? I can't zoom in, can I? Nope. Seem to be anything else apart from the tip at this point in time. We must take immediate action now to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How did you... When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed? The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zeeks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Order! Order in court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now! And guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst. Oh no, not just Jigoku. No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake. My lord? I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Ah! Well, I didn't kill him. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes. Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either. But on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us. If for some reason you completely ran out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can. Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Hurley's ears or not? Here goes then. I'm going to do it. We're going to explode, aren't we? Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! Ow! That scream sounded like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here! It's the felt doll talking? Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. All right, then. I'll put all my strength into it. Heave! Ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse. The SS Grouse? She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time. So, you mean you'd already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place? Mr. Naruhodo, play What Is My Name? Herlock Sholmes, world-famous Great Detective. Recited to perfection. Well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow! Miss Susato, gently with this genius's ears, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes. Ah, there you are, Mikotoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse at Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket. But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions at my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads then, I'm afraid to say... Do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operate in that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why the deuce would I know? Cyrus's invention, not mine. Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now before the Grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long. There are times, Mikotoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin. Hey! First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow. Why are you loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you? Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Chicken Stroganoff when you see him? Chicken? Why have you got my name on? Why have you got Sholmes' name on? Chicken. Great detective. Ha! I don't think so. Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes? I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally it does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave now! How distressing. My lord devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba. I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku. There is no one with this name on board, but we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. Ah, you mean Eastern Man. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk. He said something about emergency, I think. What? Are you sure? So Seishiro's realized that we're after him, has he? This cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please. No, I have orders not to let even mouse inside. Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse that he leaves the area. Doesn't Great Detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right? Curses! The plan is ruined! And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside. Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock. Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'll be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner? How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man! So, the game is afoot. What am I doing with you then, mister? Want me to throw his trap at you? He's like a Neo Temple Guardian statue, this fellow, the way he's glaring at us so fiercely. Different game. Tell me, why are you standing guard here if the cabin is unoccupied? Because this area is only for first-class passengers. We must look out for suspicious criminals. He was looking straight at me when he said that. My dear fellow, as you can plainly see, we are quite unsuspicious as criminals go. But still, criminals. No. For goodness sake, Sholmes, tell the man we're neither suspicious nor criminals. Ah, yes, quite right, Mikotoba. Curses, this seaman is far too able for his own good. Be extremely careful in what you say. One of us ought to be, yes. This must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. Try it? Sure, why not? Choo choo! That sounds like big mouse in trap. Choo choo! Squeak squeak. I will bring bucket of water later and put out of misery. I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a true sound. Oh, really, Sholmes? And pray tell, what sound do Russian mice make? PP, naturally. Though also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. So go ahead, Mikotoba, do a PP this time. No, thank you. I'm sure I can come up with an alternative solution. I just press the alarm. Well, that's another first-class cabin, and yet its door is completely unguarded. Empty as well. I had a quick look inside earlier, though I confess I didn't investigate the wardrobe. There may very well be a young Japanese fellow inside, perspiring merrily. If you're referring to Naruhodo, you know very well that he's currently perspiring merrily in court. Does it not strike you, though, Mikotoba? Why, the man stands guard only in the front of this cabin when both are apparently vacant. Yeah, well, it's the thing that happens. This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. I guess I should leave it alone, though, really. Here goes, then. Pardon me in advance. You! What are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem. What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff, report at once. Sorry, sir. Nothing to report. It was just a stupid trick. No, not by me, by world famous... No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now! Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikotoba. In we go. Ah, yes. So on the 3rd of November... In this half-hour recess, what is in first class cabin number 2? A mess? To start with. Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. I should check the wardrobe. Those clothes on the floor there. They're Seishiro's without question. Well, it seems we are just a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here. That burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may. Which makes this all the more thrilling. I mean, first elephant? There's a speaking tube here, look. Though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Well, indeed, so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. Could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think? Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering. That really becomes a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? Really has become. Snakes, everywhere. And quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it's... Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off. Ice, Mikotoba, ice! What opulence the first-class passengers enjoyed. Chilled drinks? Pardon? Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated coals room, do you think? Well, it is a luxury liner, after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world. Suddenly, Mikotoba, the sight of you was making my mouth water. I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asugi's wardrobe. Indeed he was, and it was of a similar size to this one. Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? Whatever for? It was the site of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You can experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Leslie, come along now, in you go. This will only take a moment. Really, Sholmes, surely you could just tell me what you said. Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer. I think I'll just read about it in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Less long-winded. This is the waste paper basket, look, and there's still rubbish inside. Indeed, then let us pry. I've discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. I sincerely hope only for your work. Ah! Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago. 3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London, then. But I was still aboard myself. Evacuation drill notice. Ah, yes, there was an evacuation drill. I remember now. Has it been added yet? Nope. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. Okay, the evacuation drill itinerary. Night before the ship arrived in Dover. Was found in Judge Jigoku's cabin. Which means they all left the ship, and there was no one around in any room. That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown. Momohiki work trousers, a Tanzan robe, a haramaki waistband, clearly the clothing of a Japanese man. And clearly, Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of the wardrobe. Looks to me as if they've been thrown in a heap like that in something of a hurry. Indeed, you could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps. I'm sure you made mention of packing too few. I'd very likely drown in one of Seishiro's shirts. No, I'll just buy any extras I need, I think. That's a very sizable trunk indeed. Seishiro is partial to all things large. And a rather clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now, the situation will be quite different, though. Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. Okay then. These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases. I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination. What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. A trifle. And you know what I always say, Mikotoba? There's nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. What else is in here? Well, it's been moved, for starters. The wall is a slightly different color just here. Do you see? Indeed. What you have observed arises when a frame that's been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now that's a bold deduction wherever you have a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. You are still here! Ah, Abel Seaman Stroganov. Hello again. I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. You are waiting for me? Of course, I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before. Poor innocent chicken. It is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow, but first, there is something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth. Kakoi! I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all. And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is even as we speak, don't you? How can you? Good gracious, Sholmes. Do you mean you've worked it out? All of it? It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more. Well, I can't start that today because we want all the fantastic stuff to happen in one beautiful episodic segment. So, with that said and done, and with a dance, our last dance, if you think about it, and the true dance between partners about to take place, I ask you to join me next time for more Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, where we hopefully get the information we need to win this case, to win this trial. But we can't exactly get the evidence over, so it's all going to have to be just hearsay. We'll see what's admissible in a court of law or not about what we're doing next time. See you guys then for more. Bye-bye.